Everybody, and welcome to this presentation. I really like this presentation because I think it's one of the big game changers over the next 4 or 5 years. That's going to really make enormous changes to the way we deal with television and pay television and IPTV and things like that. So I think that we are on the cusp of a new revolution, and this time the broadcasting revolution, and that will be driven by smart television. Couple of other things before I get into this. Every Tuesday we send out a free newsletter, and Julie at the back has a scanner and can scan your card, and then you can be on our free email list. You also see the QR codes. We have a mobile web app, and we have a Android app that you can download. The iPhone app is on its way, but Apple, already being a nice monopoly, it takes a long time to actually get it into iTunes. The situation with smart television. I think that if I go back, and that goes a long time, to the early start of these sort of developments, I actually go back to 1981, 82, 83. I was involved in an interactive cable television program in the southern parts of the Netherlands, as well as in the Columbus, Ohio project, of course in America, and they all date back to around 1980. And at that point in time we were talking about the video revolution that was going to happen. Of course it never happened, yeah? Because we didn't have the real infrastructure at that time, and it was very much still in the proprietary sort of environment of cable television operators, broadcasters, etc. So now, 30 years later, yeah, we actually start seeing the development of a new platform that is indeed going to drive this video revolution, and that video revolution will actually be driven again by us, the consumer. And the reason why it will happen is that for the first time we will have a much better choice in video content than we've had before. At the moment, as you know, if you don't watch the news at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, bad luck, you have to wait till 8:30 or whatever, yeah, for the next installment. If you miss, if you're 5 minutes late for a particular television series, bad luck, you miss the first 5 minutes, or you have to go on the website and do catch up. This is going to change. We are going to be changed. If you go to pay television, if you're on Foxtel or Ostar, you have to buy 50 channels, of which 45 you never use, yeah, and the other 5 you pay for. That, of course, is not very user-friendly, and that's why there will be a revolution, because the broadcasters, the pay television operators, and the free-to-air broadcasters have never really treated us as customers. We are not the customers, particularly not with the broadcasters. The broadcasters' customers are the advertisers, not us. Yeah? They're not really interested in us. Yeah? They're getting their money from the advertisers, not from us. So this is this whole big change that's going to happen with smart television. So what you will get is that already at this point in time, 25% of American households have a smart television. 20% of British households have smart television. In Australia it's only 10%, yeah? But I predict that within 5 years, 75% of all the televisions will be smart televisions, yeah? So there will be an enormous change happening over the next 5 years in relation to television. And once you actually have smart televisions in the home, you have the utility, you have the infrastructure in place. And what you will see is that the companies such as, who are now the IPTV companies, they are going to be the companies that are going to be on the smart television. So I expect companies like Fletch Television. I expect companies like Netflix. Yeah, these are the companies that will have their applications, click-on applications on the smart television and will provide you with access to the various sort of content. You don't need the set-top box anymore. The set-top box is a dead-end street, has always been a dead-end street because they're proprietary, and nothing what is proprietary in the telecommunications environment lasts forever. Yeah, eventually we go into open systems. So the set-top boxes, the Q boxes from Foxtel and things like that, dead-end street. It's very interesting to see that Telstra is actually, in my analysis, not in their announcement, in my analysis, is going to get rid of the T-box. I don't think they're going to continue with the T-box. I think they've seen the writing on the wall and they are going to offload their T-box. I'm not quite sure if they're going to appear on smart television. It doesn't make sense because they're not really a content operator. But perhaps Foxtel, is going to change its business model from a pay television model as it is now to an apps model on the smart television. Yeah, it would be very smart for Foxtel to do that because obviously after 20 years of trying, they still haven't got much further than 25% of penetration amongst Australian households. And pay television around the world is on the way back. Yeah, everywhere around the world where you've got cable television, there's a decline in cable television simply because people are getting more and more choice. Yeah. On broadband, internet, and YouTube. But the reality of all of these broadband developments is that 75% of people still like free-to-air television. Yeah? So it's not a total replacement what we have with YouTube and internet, etc. That's not a replacement for free-to-air television. But if free-to-air television becomes an application on the smart television, you really start seeing a different model. Yeah? And again, it will be then, our choice when we are ready. If we want to watch the news at 7:05, then we watch the news at 7:05 and not at 7 o'clock. Yeah? So the customer will be in charge. The customer will be in the driving seat on a smart television which are arriving, as I mentioned, over the next 5 years. So television will, similar to what you start seeing on telecommunications, will become an over-the-top application. Yeah, an over-the-top application rather than that we use the broadcasting signal in the traditional way. We will actually start using a broadband platform and then use television or video entertainment or whatever you want to call it as an over-the-top model. Now, obviously, this is not going to happen overnight because at the same time you need the infrastructure in place that is going to allow you to watch quality-based television as an over-the-top application. Yeah, and we all know that the rollout of the NBN is taking place, but it takes time before everybody has access to that. But give it 5 years, then we have approximately half of the population have then access to a quality-based broadband facility. So by the time that you see full or close to full penetration of smart television, that will be in parallel with the infrastructure that is necessary to actually access that information. So that's the sort of development that I see happening with smart televisions and the effect that will have on broadcasting and on IPTV and things like that in general. So the IPTV model, as we've got it now, as in the T-box or the Fletch TV, or the services from companies like iiNet, etc. Yeah, that's not really the IPTV model that's going to work. Yeah, if you look around the world, IPTV on broadband was introduced in 2003, and worldwide there are something like 60 or 70 million people using IPTV. So it never really has made this huge impact on the broadband market as everybody thought that would happen 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Yeah? So the IPTV model, the old IPTV model is basically dead. The pay television model is dead, it's a dead-end street. Yeah? And broadcasting in general, of course, will change as well. But that also has to do with the demographics of the population. Yeah? The older population, who have lots of them who have plenty of time, watch a lot of television, and they are not necessarily have the affinity with the technology as the younger generation have. So I'm not saying that free-to-air broadcasting is dying overnight. Yeah? There will be a long time that will continue as well. But the free-to-air broadcasters with that traditional way of delivering broadcasting will find it increasingly more difficult to get the advertisers to pay for good quality content. Because you start seeing that more and more people are not using the traditional free-to-air television anymore and are using other avenues. And the other avenues are far more targeted. If you have an apps-based smart television, then you know exactly who your customers are, and you can tailor-make the advertisements, and you can have interaction with the customer in a way that obviously is not possible on the traditional free-to-air model or the traditional pay television model. So you really start seeing very big changes in business models, in the industry around it. It's a little bit similar to what you saw happening in the music industry. If you look at the music industry 10 years ago, yeah, then the major players are totally different from the ones that are now the major players. Yeah? Apple has $250 million music users. Now, Apple didn't exist in the music industry 10 years ago, and even not 5 years ago to the extent it is now. So you see that the traditional players in the market, yeah, if they are not changing over to the new model and try to protect their old model for as long as possible, which they intuitively will do, yeah, in the end they will lose out. Yeah? We see that with the publishers, we see that with the retailers, like Harvey Norman, who's complaining about online retailing. People who are not changing their business model and are adapting to the new digital economy model, yeah, they are going to be the ones that are going to miss out on the future opportunities. And obviously companies like Google and Apple are going to be major players on the smart television network. Yeah? They are well positioned. Apple has been working on this for many years. Google has been working on this for many years. So I expect that as soon as you start seeing more penetration of smart television, and I would guess that will happen by the end of the year, yeah, that you really start seeing some wow announcements from companies such as Apple and Google in relation to smart television. Yeah? We know that all the Korean manufacturers, the Samsungs, the LG, are leading the world in this area, and also the Japanese are coming on board with Sony and Pioneer, etc. So the device world is ready. Yeah? They are now pumping out these smart televisions. Yeah? The IPTV companies, clever IPTV companies, and I really in Australia, for those of you who have never come across them, have a good look at Netflix. I believe that will be one of the leaders on smart television in Australia. Yeah? And it will be very interesting, as I mentioned before, what companies such as Foxtel, Austar is now basically out, so the only one is Foxtel. What Foxtel is going to do in relation to this. Are they going to cannibalize their package where I have to buy 50 channels which I don't use, but I have to pay them the $70, $80, $90, whatever they charge? Yeah? Will they want to try and hang on to these customers for as long as possible? Because if you start giving those customers a choice, then obviously the first one what I will do is cancel my Foxtel subscription and buy the 2 or 3 channels independently directly on my smart television and have access to it in that particular way. So you really will be interesting to see how the traditional players are going to play part of it. My gut feeling is that they are running behind. My gut feeling is that the channel 7s and 9s of this world, and the 10s of this world are not reading really in the front end. They also have financial problems, as you regularly read in the newspaper. So they don't have a lot of money to actually invest in that, nor do they have that innovative sort of concept in moving into smart television. So very much like what we've seen in the past, it will be the Googles, the Facebook, the Apples, the Amazons of this world that are going to drive this change. And the more fiber to the home we will have, of course, the more this will happen. The interesting thing is that the BBC is one of the digital content leaders in the world, no doubt about that. Yeah? They are going to launch 24 HDTV channels, broadband HDTV channels, yeah, 24/7 during the Olympic Games. Yeah? So it will be very interesting to see what the impact of that will be on smart televisions in the UK. Yeah, as I already mentioned, 20% penetration. And by the time, it is estimated that by the time the Olympic Games start, which is only a month from now, yeah, that they could have reached the American penetration level. So that's how quickly things can go. Yeah, you know what this is also. The interest is that my colleagues in Britain are saying, you know, the network will collapse. If people are really start using, you know, all these 24 HDTV channels, yeah, then the telecommunication, the broadband network cannot deal with it. Only the people that are on fiber to the home will actually be able to properly use this content. So it will be an interesting test also for British Telecom in this respect, yeah, if they can handle this level of traffic. And it really starts showing, you know, the need for this fiber to the home network. You know, people like Malcolm Turnbull keep on telling us that we don't need fiber to the home, but what will be interesting to see what this will do to the infrastructure and how much capacity is really needed in order to deliver these systems to the customers. And as the same with smartphones, I mean, you know, if you look at the smartphones in 1997, the first smartphones arrived, and that basically meant you could have internet on your mobile phone. It was the web protocol, WAP protocol, yeah? And what the telcos did, they monopolized that. They had their own portals. They charge us an arm and a leg if you want to use it, and they asked 80% of the revenue from the content providers who wanted to use it as a delivery platform. Now, obviously, that didn't work. And then Apple came with the iPhone in 2007, and in 1 year, they wiped out the total portal market from all 500 telcos around the world who had their own portals. Yeah? So within 1 year, that whole portal concept was killed. Yeah? Something similar can happen, of course, here if the traditional broadcasters and video players, yeah, are not careful. Then a development like this, if people like it, they're going to replace their television set. You have a rapid increase of the platform for smart television, and you will really start seeing a massive shift from the way that people have been using video entertainment in the past on free-to-air broadcast and pay television to the new area. And once again, as I started with, the power is in the hand of us. It is a democratization of the broadcasting content. The content itself is not changing that much, and there is more content in video content in the world than you and I can ever access. Content is not an issue, it's there. It's access to the content that's an issue. Yeah? There are millions and millions and millions of video-based material that's sitting in archives in the broadcasting studios, in the Hollywood studios, etc. We can't access it. It's gathering dust. And it's quite possible that we would like to see this old movie from that time or a documentary of this, etc. But we have to wait till Sunday 7:05 to get it, and I'm not there at 7:05. I never get it. So if you actually start opening up the market, there's also this commercial opportunity, obviously, for the content providers to utilize this platform to monetize the content that's now sitting in those archives around the world. And it doesn't matter in which archive it is, link it to a data center and it's available to the world. Yeah? So that's a real sort of situation driven by we want choice, we customers want choice. And as I mentioned, watch out for Apple and Google, because I see them as leaders in this market. One of the biggest problems, of course, will be your home, yeah, because you already have a laptop and a PC and a couple of smartphones and most likely a tablet or two, all that's going to be pushed through your Wi-Fi modem towards the fixed network. 85% of smartphone use, mobile broadband smartphone use, not telephone calls, mobile broadband smartphone use is used in the house, in the office, in the internet cafe, where you use the Wi-Fi modem, where it goes through the fixed network, it's not using the mobile network. 65% of tablets don't even have mobile access. It's all going through the Wi-Fi network. So this so-called mobile revolution, yeah, yes, it's true, But in all reality, the majority of the capacity, the major capacity that's taking place over smartphone and tablet is channeled through the Wi-Fi network into your ADSL or cable modem and actually going in and out in that particular way. So what you get with a smart television added to it and 24 HDTV channels, you get congestion in the house. There's not enough capacity in the house to get through the network. Now, the gigabyte storage in the house is arriving. You know, the first Wi-Fi modems that are there. But obviously, you will also soon start to find out that you have to go from your $50 broadband package to a $70 broadband package, or from a $70 broadband package to a $100 broadband package, because you are now starting to use far more capacity than your current broadband connection have. Yeah? And eventually, obviously, that is building the case for a proper fiber to the home connection that will properly deal with all of that content. So the network is becoming the bottleneck, and that's why it's good that we start planning for a fiber to the home network. Now, amongst you, I'm sure there will also be people who are critical about the NBN and are saying, you know, we don't need it now. Guys, you cannot build a fiber to the home work on a Saturday afternoon. That's going to take you 10 or 15 years time. Do you want to wait 10 years and then start building with a fiber to the home network? Because in 10 years time, everybody will say the business case is there. But then you have to wait 10 or 15 years to actually get your home connected to a proper broadband connection. So I'm all for starting now and being ready by 2020, rather than saying we don't need it now, let's start in 2020 and then get it in 2030. Yeah? So that's the reality of infrastructure. Infrastructure is not done on a Saturday afternoon. That takes a hell of a lot of time. And as I illustrated with the smartphone, mobile networks will never ever be able to handle that level of capacity. They won't be able to handle smart television. Absolutely impossible. You would melt down any mobile network overnight if you would channel all of that traffic over a wireless network. Absolutely, physically, the law of physics tells you it's not possible. Malcolm Turnbull, other people can say no, that's not true, but the law of physics tells you impossible. You can't do that over wireless. Yeah? I'm not saying we need that capacity now in 2012, but we have to start building now in order to have that capacity in 5, 10, 15 years time when we really need it. So the network is really the bottleneck. Also, if you look at resource-rich countries like Australia, so you look at the oil countries in the Middle East, you look at Brazil, you look at Russia, you look at China, all of these countries are building massively fiber to the home networks. So the opposition can point to Europe and USA, which are the losers. They are the problems with the great financial crisis. Yeah? Are we comparing ourselves with the losers, or are we want to compare ourselves with the winners? Saudi Arabia building nationwide fiber to the home network. Qatar building fiber to the home network. The Emirates, 50% of all houses in the Emirates are linked to a fiber to the home network. Brazil, fiber to the home. India building 200 fiber to the home network to 200,000 villages. China next year will have more fiber to the home connections than the whole of the world combined. So how long do we want to wait in Australia, yeah, with this, or are we serious about our future and we don't want to catch up in 2020 with a stupid decision we made in 2013 if the opposition says kill the NBN, yeah? So that would be the wrong decision going forward, not just in the context of Australia, but in the context of what's happening in the rest of the world, yeah? We are no longer, a couple of years ago, when Conroy made the announcement of the NBN, we were the leaders. Other countries are rapidly catching up with us and actually are rolling out the network as we speak. So, you know, we should bear that in mind if we take those decisions, she'll be all right, we don't need fiber, wait 5 or 10 years, who cares? I think we should be very careful about that sort of a situation. Storage devices, game devices, you know, these are all very important things that are going to be part of the national broadband network in the house, yeah? Linked to the smart television sort of applications I'm talking about, really interesting. Also this combination of smart storage devices and cloud. Interesting. We don't know yet where the balance is going to be, yeah? But there will be a balance between storage in the home and on the other side, cloud computing. Both will be winners, by the way. You know, I'm not saying one will be the loser, but there will be different sort of developments in that area. So what we are creating, and that's why I'm so excited about this presentation about smart television, because I think this will be the game changer over the next 5 years. For all of you involved in the industry, start reading articles about smart television. We naturally, from the IT and the telecommunications industry, we don't look at that. We don't get the broadcasting subscription to the broadcasting magazines. We don't read the broadcasting articles in the newspaper. But I challenge you from now on, start looking, as soon as you see the word smart television, read the article, because it's becoming our industry. It's become a critical element of our industry, and we are going to be the leaders in how we actually manage that. So keep an eye on smart television, as this will be, in my opinion, the biggest game changer over the next 5 years in the residential market. Yeah? Lots of questions. It needs to be open networks. All of that, of course, still will have to be sorted out. Very similar to the ICT discussions that we have over the last 5, 10, 15 years about open networks, closed networks. Nothing different there in smart television as well. As we already see, same with the smartphone. Who are the leaders now? It are the device operators. It is Apple, it is Samsung, it is these companies are leading this world. No longer the mobile operators. 5 years ago, the mobile operators were in charge of this. Yeah? No longer the case. Smart television, the broadcasters will no longer be in charge. It will be the smart television operators, the Samsungs of this world, the LGs, the Sonys. They are going to be the leaders in that particular area. They own the platform, they have the device, we are buying the devices, we want the content, and those companies are going to put it on, and Apple and Google and YouTube and others are more than happy to swarm that with content and start building the content on that platform. So the electronics industry, again, you know, it's good that Samsung is here, but we don't see Sony, we don't see Pioneer. These are all becoming as important, yeah, as the Ericssons, as the Nortels, as the D-Links, as the other IT companies that we are there. And again, because of the fact that we have blinkers on, I challenge you, you know, keep an eye on the Sonys, the Pioneers, the Samsungs of this world in relation to smart television, because it's our industry, it's becoming our industry. Content providers, as we saw with the applications, there was no smartphone, there were no application developers. There is a smartphone, there are 400,000 application developers overnight. Yeah? So the same will happen, of course, in this platform, where you have an open television platform. Everybody loves video. My God, there will be hundreds of thousands of application providers linked to content. Content will come out of the woodwork, you know, from 50 years ago and 100 years ago, and you know, from the most niche markets you can think of, and will become available over this platform. So lots of opportunities, business opportunities, because what you do, you open up a closed market. The broadcasting market, totally closed market for the last 50 years. That's why those people are so incredibly rich, like the Packers of this world, you know. They were sitting on a monopoly gold mine. We are now opening up the gold mine, and we are actually opening up the market, democratizing the content, access to it, and that's when you actually start seeing an absolutely boom in the developments around that new medium. So thank you very much.